Hello, everybody. We're about to go on in just a few. Ben.
Hey, everyone. Excited to be here with Nikki. Absolutely.
Let me set up the Instagram. We've got a few minutes. Okay.
We've already got friends joining here. This
Yes.
is great.
Hello.
So good.
Good morning or afternoon, I should say.
Yeah.
It's 1 p.m. almost Central Standard Time. So all of our friends and family, how you doing? In the studio with Ben Weaver, one of the Ironman. I'm gonna call him the champ.
I didn't win, but thank you.
No, you're still the champ. How many people actually participate in Ironman? Right?
It's less than like 0.5% of all the population.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. It's not very many.
That's a big ordeal.
Yeah,
You're a
it
big
is.
deal, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
You're a big deal. So we're about to go on in just a few, but I'm hoping. Oh, mic check.
Mic check. Am I good?
Okay. Mic check. That's pretty good. Okay, great. So we have Kenneth McClendon on the other side, who's working the board and helping us produce the show, this segment for today, where we are talking about work-life balance. And I like to say, I guess, from burnout to balance, in a sense.
That works.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben's going to give us some insight. He has a personal journey that I'm quite fascinated by. And then he also has some tips and tools for us. Not that he's just labeled as a coach, but he actually has the experience behind it to understand what is needed. Not just, and I like that you're working with men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love that. Don't want to get too much into the conversation till we go live in just a few moments. But stick around and let's see who's joining us. Hello, Lady Joan Garth. I see you. Hello. Aneezer Lane, how are you? Willie Dean, how you doing? D'Angelo Robinson, hello. Willie Dean. Let's see. Oh my gosh. It's a whole bunch of folks signed up in
We
here.
do, yeah.
Carlos Turner, how are you? Ashanti Bell. Bree Alexander. Mr. Anderson, how are you? Shantae Little. Like I don't have on my glasses, so trying to read those names. Yeah. Are you nervous at all?
Not really.
You do this though.
No, I do podcasts all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a normal thing for me.
Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a breeze.
Yeah, and I love conversations.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just honored to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm honored that you're here.
Oh, well, thank
Who
you.
would have thought? I mean, it was just maybe three or 4 months ago?
Yeah, November. Yeah, it was when
Yeah.
our paths first crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So we want to thank Miss Shayla Ford for making the connection between the two of us.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yep.
Yay. And also, so they're playing a commercial right now in Trinity, Mount Carmel, as you know, in Florissant, Missouri, is celebrating 100 years of service.
Wow.
100 years this weekend. And for those who don't know, yes, yours truly, I'm a PK kid. Formerly a PK kid, but I think once you're a PK kid, you're always one. So my father was the pastor of Trinity Mount Carmel for 27 years, I think it was.
Wow.
And so pretty much grew up in the church. And now Michael Cleveland is the pastor, and Audra Cleveland, who is there as well, the dynamic duo. And but 100 years the church has been in existence. So they're celebrating with a huge centennial gala this weekend. So congratulations to all my TMC family. Love you guys.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, there's our promo. We're about to get started. Good afternoon to each of you in your respective places. It is absolutely, truly a delight to be here with you. One more Tuesday. We do not take it for granted to be in the land of the living, and we have lost an hour of sleep, but we have not lost an hour of life. So for that, we are grateful. And with that gratefulness, you are tuned in to Sparkman Pathway to Careers. Yes, the platform that brings you information, testimonials, tools, and resources to better yourselves when it comes to career, leadership, and entrepreneurship. I am absolutely delighted to have, and I know people who are on listening, former guests, I'm always delighted. So I'm not taking away from your delight. But today I'm absolutely delighted to have in studio with me Mr. Ben Weaver.
Nikki, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Oh my God. So just a little background. About 4 months ago, I received an invitation from Shayla Ford, who is over at Focus St. Louis, to come and be a speaker for one of their Emerging Leaders programs. And had a chance to go over and participate. And it was a absolute joy, delight to have this full auditorium of emerging leaders. And one of the other speakers who happened to be on the panel was Ben Weaver. Ben Weaver is the founder, the owner, and lead consultant of Big Story Consulting. And he is also a blogger. He is the creator of the Adventurous.
Yeah.
Got it.
Faith.
Adventurous Faith podcast, Adventurous Faith coaching. And those are just a few things that he is currently doing, just a few. But his journey to get to this point is what caught my eye, what caught my ear, and what caught my heart. Let's just jump right in and talk about this. We're talking about this our theme today is understanding that work-life balance. I like to use the word harmony, but we're going to use balance for the sake of our topic. How many of us think that's just a trend, it's just words that we're using, but it's a real deal that can take you out of here if not careful. Yeah. How did this become such a passion for you?
Yeah, Nikki, well, first again, thank you so much for having me on. I have to, very similar to how our paths intersected at that Focus St. Louis gathering. For me, it was a matter of my own story of taking a journey back and realizing what had happened over the course of several years, which now informs what I do now. So the quick backstory of my life is I'm a St. Louis boy, born and raised. I grew up just across the river in Illinois, where people don't care where people went to high school. And so I grew up in a wonderful Christian home, the last of 4 kids, raised by incredible parents, hardworking folks. And for me, I just had kind of the whole world at my fingertips and could dream and pursue what I wanted. And really through a series of events through high school, not really knowing what I wanted to do with life, that actually led me. I was very active in my church, and that led me to actually answer the call to go be a pastor. And
wow.
Yeah, and so I actually pursued that call down to Texas, into college, eventually onto seminary, was working as a youth pastor down there for several years. In the middle of that, was as a most 20-somethings kind of looking for promotion, looking for the next thing. And so that's what I started looking all over the country and realized it wasn't in Texas any longer, which was fine. And so I ended up moving back to St. Louis kind of in this in-between phase of my life, and ended up staying around the area for a while, teaching at my old high school, and then eventually landed at a church here locally in St. Louis that I was just honored and privileged to serve at for 7.5 years. Mm-hmm. But for me, the whole work-life balance idea was born. That was a little bit of my professional journey. Personally, for me, my 20s were spent going after any goal, any achievement, any success possible. And I could name several different ways in which that played out, but more specifically, the most important one to me in my story was me completing an Ironman on my 29th birthday.
Now, who in this listening audience knows someone who completed the real Ironman? That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's for crazy people.
But you know what? Yes, I want you to unpack this, but I am fascinated by this whole concept because it is through the Ironman. Like, there's so many lessons because being an educator, the discipline that it takes to even do that. So I'm not gonna veer you off this where you're going,
Sure.
conversation wise. But man, I can only imagine training and preparing for such an event. And those who may not know, what is Ironman? Share what Ironman
Sure,
is.
yeah, absolutely. So Ironman is an endurance, a day-long, for most people who complete it, a day-long endurance event that consists of a 2.4-mile swim, a 112-mile bike ride, and then a full marathon, 26.2-mile run, all sandwiched into one day, and you have 17 hours to complete it. And to that discipline point, I have to give credit to my family, my dad specifically, my mom as well, but my dad, who just taught me what hard work ethic was and the priorities. And so I grew up playing football and baseball, understood the importance of teamwork and practice and discipline, waking up at 6:30 a.m. for, weightlifting workouts in the summer and high school. So that was sort of embedded in me. So when I decided to pursue Ironman, one of the things that you'll learn about me, Nikki, that I love, just I don't know why I love sharing it, but I don't just go halfway into something. I go all in.
That's a lesson in itself. That's a lesson in itself.
Right.
Back to that discipline and understanding, if you're going to sign up for something, sign up for it.
Right. Exactly.
Be all in.
Yeah. I kind of live by the phrase, go big or go home.
Oh.
And so that's kind of what I did. So I actually finished a sprint triathlon, which is the smallest of the triathlon circuit, and decided that same weekend, in 2 years, I'm going to go complete an Ironman. And so an Ironman discipline training, there's so much, I won't get into the weeds about it, but essentially it's training 2 workouts a day, 6 days a week. And
for how long?
Typically training, you can prepare for as long a year and a half, but actual training in that regimen lasts 6 to 7 months.
That's still that's dedication.
It is. It's logging a lot of time, in the pool, on the bike, really just to prepare you for that day.
But that becomes your life.
It does. That's a very important statement that you just made regarding everything, because that's what it was for me. It was my life. And when something becomes your life, and I think you and I are talking about it in the same instance in a negative way, it affects all the rest of the areas of your world, and you most of the time don't see it, and I didn't see it. So as the story goes, I trained for Ironman. I head to upstate New York, to this beautiful village on upstate New York called Lake Placid, with my entire family there, and I complete this race. Not 15 hours removed from the finish line, I'm sitting around this fire pit, contemplating life, realizing I just did this incredible, amazing thing. I've got this medal to show for it, and I should feel on top of the world. But there was something missing. I was like, I don't feel any different.
So you go after, and not only go after, but complete something that is absolutely a situation and an accomplishment that should have you floating parallel with the clouds above.
Yeah.
But yet you feel like you're at the bottom of the earth.
Right. I felt that night. I mean, that night I could barely fall asleep. It was also my birthday. I think I mentioned that. So yes. I'm getting all these birthday wishes on Facebook. Congratulations, Ironman. So that night I couldn't sleep. The next day, though, it was like coming off the mountain right away and realizing, well, I don't feel any different. This medal doesn't make me any more of a man, any better of a person. And like most men, I just kind of stuffed that feeling inside of me. I didn't tell anyone about it. I didn't tell anyone that I feel inadequate, I feel incomplete, because they probably thought I was kind of foolish, Because you're the man right now. I'm the man. Exactly. I've completed
on the outside.
Oh, absolutely.
Walk us through what's happening on the inside.
Inside, I was suffering. What I didn't see on my 29th birthday, I began to see on my 30th birthday. So fast forward a year, I lived like this for a year. Mind you, I'm a spiritual leader. I'm a pastor at this point. Wow. And so there are certain areas of my life that I hadn't quite given over to Jesus. And fast forward a year to my 30th birthday, I'm sitting on my couch. It's a Friday night. I'm alone. I don't have plans. I'm not going out with anybody. I'm in tears. And I literally said, God, what is wrong with me? And I realized that I begin to build my life around performance and goals and achievements and accolades
Wow.
for the first 30 years of my life, all in hopes that people would notice me, to like me. And all it left me was alone on my 30th birthday. And I realized, okay, something's got to change.
But you're the leader.
Yes.
You're the leader. Yeah. You're pouring out. You're
Mm-hmm.
giving guidance. You're giving instruction. You're loving on people from an empty space.
Yeah, there were certain points of my life that I realized I couldn't even help an individual because I had not gotten the healing I needed from myself. And so there was some,
wow.
As equipped as I felt like I was as a minister, great education, just an honor to serve at the place that I was serving and giving so much. And God was doing incredible things, unbeknownst to my weaknesses, which is what he does with us, which is what I love.
That's true.
But even still, there were parts of me that were not all the way there. And I kicked myself over it, Thankfully, I noticed it at 30 and then spent the next, I will spend the rest of my life, but spent the next 5 years really getting healthy.
And what did that look like? What was the healthy? Because we are talking about work-life balance, and right now, so many of us are doing more work, and we're trying to, like I always on the show, we're dual rolling it in some capacity. We're either working a job and working in church. We're working a job and working towards our passion or our call. So we have all these different things that are going on at the same time, but now we've got social media. We're distracted by just life because there's so much that's being thrown at us and that's bombarding us. All these disruptions. We've got family. We've got all these different things, but yet we try to squeeze in a little time for play. What did that begin to look like for you?
That's a great question, Nikki, and a great observation, because one of the things that I love about some of the things that I do is, listen, we can talk about these stories and all these things all day long, but at the end of the day, unless we get practical with what does this look like, it's not going to really matter. So for me, I was heavily performance minded. So that's where I was. I was living in that outer circle of my life. Hey, everyone, come like me for all the things I was doing. And I was lacking this inner world, which included more faith and relationships. So let's talk about the relational piece for a minute. For me, I had friends, right? But I didn't have people that I was doing life with. I didn't have an inner circle. And so literally it began with me texting people and going, hey, would you like to go hang out? And I know that may sound really childish and sheepish, but that's really what it was for me. It was me saying, all right, if I want to grow this inner circle that I know I need, I've got to start somewhere.
But there's a lesson even right there. While you are in the leadership role, you were working towards accomplishing things, achieving goals, performing, and we use that word performing, ministering, but you didn't have someone that could do that for you.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and I feel like, Nikki, that's a mistake a lot of leaders make. Wow. They make this mistake of, okay, I'm in leadership. I'm in power. We can use whatever term you want to use there. Therefore, because I don't think that I'm better than other people, but I must separate myself for them so they can notice that I'm a leader and that I am leading them. And that was my cyclical problem all through my 20s. I had trouble hanging out with people because I thought, well, I've got to be the pastor, and I don't want to be the pastor. And so I
just want to be Ben.
I just want to be me.
Yeah.
And I had to literally take those layers off. So the relational side, it was texting people, reaching out, hanging out. I got into counseling, into therapy, weekly,
which we don't like to talk about.
No, everyone thinks that's it's a sticky term. Oh, it's icky. Like, oh, I got to go to counseling. And actually, it was the best thing that I could ever do for myself, and helped me to unpack why was I so performance minded. What were the things in my life, my inner world, that I needed to begin working through
to get into the wound, not just treat the symptoms.
Exactly. Oh, you were hitting it dead on. It was the wound that I had to really address. And when I started to address it and be vulnerable and open to the process, what I saw was I saw a couple of things happen. One, it was life-giving to everything happening around me. My relationships began to blossom. The community was growing that I was a part of. And there was a confidence that I found that was no longer just what can Ben do to prove himself to others, but who am I more in Christ? And I literally started to I would have, so I was a youth pastor, and I would have students come up to me, middle school, high school kids go, Ben, something's different about you. Like, what's changing?
Kids?
Yeah. I'd have a couple high school guys
Wow.
notice it in me, like, they're like, dude, like, this is, in the middle school or high schools, they talk like, dude, you're on another level. Like, what is it?
They saw the transition.
They
the
saw
change.
something, the confidence in me, like, Ben is hitting a level he's never hit before.
Wow.
And at first I was like, oh, I don't know what's happening. But then I began to realize, oh no, it's the steps I'm taking towards growth that every person, every man needs, that we often are so afraid to hop into.
As a man.
Oh, yeah.
And what I love about this dialogue is the fact that you were in leadership. You are a male.
Mm-hmm.
You are a person who have been gifted with the gift to give and give out and pour out, but yet you knew something needed to be addressed. I always say you can't give what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, and when we consider that, oftentimes we still keep pressing the gas. However, the more you press that gas and you don't stop to get filled and repaired and equipped for the work that you've been called to do,
Mm-hmm.
other people get damaged
Right.
and hurt and ill prepared because of that's slightly arrogant to
Mm-hmm.
think that you don't need to stop. You have to stop and take care of yourself. Look how you said those middle-aged students, even middle-aged students, realized there was a shift, there was a change, there was something different about you. So can you imagine had you not stopped? Because even that change in you impacted them in some kind of way.
Absolutely, because every week I was pouring myself into them through teaching, through investing, through discipleship. Yeah.
And if you're pouring broken, guess what? You're teaching broken.
That's right. You're exactly right. You're about ready to preach here. So
No,
I better get out of the way.
No. So you seek out help. I love that you brought up the fact, and thank you for being vulnerable and transparent, even here on the air, because we don't want to talk about counseling. There is nothing wrong with counseling. I've been through it, and actually it's some people who've not been, they have it kind of twisted thinking like, oh, they're just going to be in my business, they're just going to pry. No, they really do help you dig past all of the stuff to get into the wound. And once you go there, you think you've been living. No. Once they begin to pour into, and really all they're doing is asking you questions.
Right. Yeah. And so when guys, kind of buck against the whole, like, oh, counseling, I say, do you like counsel? I do like counsel. Do you like wisdom? I like wisdom. Do you like direction? I like direction. Then that's counseling. That's what it is. Like, it's not you, we have this idea in our head. Oh, I'm laying on a couch with, my head on a pillow and they're asking me about my childhood. That's not it.
They're looking over their glasses with paper and pen.
Yeah, exactly. Not it at all. At least not the people I see. Right. I don't know what other people, but.
Right. So then, so from there, now we find you doing what? What's been doing now that you've kind of gone through that journey? Spending our last points on, like, where are you now, and any other little nuggets of wisdom that you want to share?
Yeah, no, for sure. So counseling led me to this growing confidence, which led me to discovering this passion for writing that I'd had when I was in college. And I had friends encourage me then and say, Ben Weaver, you're going to write books one day. You're going to be a guy who loves to, I don't know if they use the word influence. We use the word influencer a lot these days, a thought leader, things like that. And I always had a passion for that, but I didn't know how it would come about. And then, guess what? The internet takes off, and now there's all these opportunities to do that. And so that got me into writing, got me into blogging, got me into writing my first book, which is a book on helping guys not suck at relationships. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Have to bring you back for that one.
Yeah, no, I'd love to chat about that. 4 simple, practical tools to help guys get better relationships. Awesome. Very simple, easy read, and which turned me to going, wait a second, there's this continuing growing confidence. So that led me from going professionally and personally, my things were starting to intersect again of going, I love what I'm doing as a youth pastor, but I feel like there's something new on the horizon. And I couldn't quite put my fingers to it. More conversations, more, opportunities to sit down with friends and mentors got me to the place where I realized my place was starting to form out in the business world and into the marketplace. And I'm skipping over a lot of details there, but what led me, as I noticed, professionally doors closing in the church world, I noticed God calling me out into the business world. What I say to this day is God was calling me to go be a pastor in the business world. And I'm still figuring out what that looks like, but practically what that looks like is the consulting business I run called Bigger Story Consulting, where I invite businesses who have trouble clarifying what they do and why it matters, helping them to really get clarity so they can write a bigger story for their company and enter into that. It's coaching. So I work with men who, the way that I phrase it is, I work with guys who are killing it in their careers, but suck at the rest of their life. So that's the kind of men that I enjoy starting conversations with and doing that. And then I host a podcast, which is a way for me to get this idea, this belief of what does it mean to live an adventurous faith life, and which is a life in which you are not in control. Jesus is, you are letting him lead you and watching him do things that you could have not done on your own, which is the complete opposite of the life that I was living in my 20s when I was doing Ironman, when I was doing all that. And the fruit of that thus far has been something that left me undone, but one, by the amount of people that are paying attention to it, because I'm just honored just to be a part of the conversation, but two, like I am living out my passion and doing what I believe is going to be my legacy for this world, is leaving my dent and inviting people into the bigger story that God is writing for their lives that we can't write on our own. So that's my passion and what I do.
That's awesome. And then you also have the Morning Field Guide. Those who have been listening to the show over the past few weeks understand we've been talking about creating these best practices and morning routines and a host. And then also last week we were talking about faith and entrepreneurship. So all of this just kind of bleeds together. Pastor Jordan was on with us last week. And in my research with the work that you've done, you have what's called a Morning Field Guide. Back to some best practices that, I love it because it just confirms what it is that we've been talking about. What is it? How can we get at it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So let me give you the really brief backstory. When I started looking at my own life, how did I start getting healthy? What were the things that were working for me that I think could work for other people? I realized my morning routine and what I got to do and formed in every day helped me to set my days up for success, which set up my weeks, which set up my months, which set up my year. And so the phrase I use is epic years begin by intentional days. So the Morning Field Guide is really just a smorgasbord. It's a big word. I probably just botched, but of ideas that you should use, can use, however you want to. It literally is pick and choose what you want to help form a morning routine that will really set you up for your best success. So it's things like journaling, reading God's word, prayer, meditation, even simple things. This is going to sound really goofy, but like when you get up, drink actually like 20 ounces of water. Because when we get up, we're extremely dehydrated, which means our brains can't think properly. You drink water, you wake up immediately. So it's simple things like that. And so there's all sorts of things that I put in there, really as a resource and a tool for those who'd wanted to say, hey, if you want to take steps further into this balanced life, into what I believe is the adventurous faith life, download this Morning Field Guide, take some steps in that direction. And the best way to get it is if you go to benweaver.org/morning. That's where you can grab it.
benweaver.org/morning.
Morning.
Morning. Make sure you go and find that, because we've been talking about that in regards to how that morning starts makes a difference. Ben, this has been absolutely amazing.
Oh, Nikki.
I am just excited about all that you're doing and the fact that you're working with men. We don't hear enough of that, especially with the this whole idea. I'm just fascinated by this discipline that you possess that can be transferred in a different way, because you're coming at it from sports. Not that everybody's into sports, but we understand the concept and the discipline that comes with that, and the commitment that is assigned to an individual when they say yes to such an assignment.
Absolutely.
Any last remarks?
Oh gosh. Nikki, the thing I would maybe just challenge your listeners to is fear and inaction can grab us every single day. It's real easy, but I would offer to you, take one step. You don't have to figure it all out in one day or a week or a month. This is a long journey. This is an investment that if you start to make small changes, and now it's like interest in a bank. You make that interest, you're going to look back and go, man, I've been growing like crazy. Oh, it's because I've been reading every day. It's because I've been journaling or meditating or praying, or you name it. All sorts of great activities get you involved. So just offer one step. My journey to writing started with writing for 20 minutes a day. I literally I just hit a timer, 20 minutes. And when it was over, I stopped writing. And that was it. So just take one step.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So as you're taking your one step, we want to say thank you, Ben, for being on. And we are going to make sure that we let people know how to find you. And thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, we're off the air.
All right.
So we're still live here. So we can go talk. You can give a little bit more information.
Sure.
We're going to keep going.
Absolutely. I'd love to answer any questions too.
So good. So good. But so most guests come on and there's like one something that kind of I pin at the top, and I'm still on this discipline thing, because all these different things that you've mentioned are great, but mindset. What's your mindset like right now when it comes to moving forward, as well as when you're coaching and consulting with others? What is that? How does that play in?
Oh, my mindset. That's a great question. I can use, you can't quite see it on Facebook, you can see it on Instagram here, but my phrase for the year or word, I was never a word of the year guy, but all of a sudden I've become one. I don't know how that works, but some people have like, this is my word of the year. My word or phrase of the year is open hands.
Open hands.
Yeah. So I start every day in this posture of open hands, and I actually have a sheet of paper in my quiet time, in my morning routine. And it's simply, the title of it is My Thoughts on Self and Money. And one of the things that I'm working with right now is just trying to build a healthy relationship with money. I realized that was a sticky point for me that I'm trying to work through. And so that's the money part of it. But the other part of it is the thoughts on myself. And it's our thoughts about, who I am, but more importantly of who God says that I am. And so the mindset I have every morning is the fact that I am a son of the King. Like literally, that's where I start. And there's nothing I need to do today that will cause me to be any less of that. And knowing that I'm saved by grace and that He is the one guiding me, and He is my audience and nobody else is. And if I can start there, Nikki, literally, I think it's been a couple of months that I've been doing this now every day. It's game changing. And it's not easy. It doesn't make the day like, all Skittles and rainbows.
But it sets the tone in the mind.
Exactly. Yep.
I love it. So open hands.
Open hands. So when a meeting gets canceled, I used to get frustrated. I'd have a big meeting, like some client, I'm like, oh, I'm excited, I'm ready to go. And then this meeting would get canceled, a text message or email, hey, we can't meet today, we're going to reschedule. And I used to get angry. I used to just get, and now it's like, it's fine, it'll happen.
And you're like,
whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised to see what happens with those 2 hours that I might have been in that meeting that I now can get other work done, or maybe another meeting pops up.
But that's mindset.
It is. It's a total different mindset.
And you looked at me like, that's a good question. Like, what am I going to say?
Yeah.
You were ready.
Well,
that totally, and going back to the morning field routine, understanding that how we start that day off, but that's still also not even just starting the day off, but understanding we can be centered throughout the day is what I'm getting from that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
So there was some other questions I had for you too. I would say, what has been a lesson that's taken you the longest to unlearn in regards to because you've had a very interesting life.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's see. It's on the tip of my tongue. The longest lesson to unlearn. for me, I was actually just sharing this with a group of friends last night. These are guys I do life with. And we were talking about it in the context of Galatians 5 and 6, the fruit of the Spirit and all that. And there's Paul makes a list in Galatians 5 of kind of the works of the flesh. And he mentions this phrase, envy, right? And that's a phrase I've been processing a lot lately. But I couple that with comparison. And so for me, one of the greatest lessons I'm having to unlearn is envy and comparison of just, Nikki, I'll tell you what, I can get on Instagram and I can go like down the rabbit hole of all of these things.
Yes. That's why I tell people, purge yourself from the, purge. Like, don't give all your time to social media. You're right.
No. Yeah. So I could go from, I went to college with this guy. He's successful now. Oh, and then I find this person. And then literally I'm 20 people in. And before I know it, I'm like, I all of a sudden sit back and go, right now, I think I'm not as important or I haven't achieved as much. And I'm like, this is a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
It literally is.
Yeah. And
so that is the lesson I'm continuing to have to unlearn is, Ben, stop comparing your story to others. God's not, and it doesn't do you any good. A phrase I use, I can't take credit for this, but stop comparing your beginning to other people's middle. So,
what?
Yeah. So
stop comparing yourself to other people's middle.
Stop comparing your beginning to other people's
middle.
Yeah. So I can't give John Acuff is the guy who said that. At least I think he said that. He's where I heard it. I think that's the source of that quote.
But even the fact that you were able to take envy and marry that with comparison, I totally get it. As well as that social media, many people will celebrate an outcome, but they've not shared the process. And a lot of times we don't even want to know the process because we'll scroll. If it says long read,
I want the end.
I want the end. But every celebration that we see, every accomplishment that we see, there was a process to that. We don't know that, yes, while somebody may have landed a speaking engagement, but at the same time, they've had like 1,000 or at least 20 no's before they landed that one. That's my one thing. That's why I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be on social media all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Because it will pull you into this black hole or, and put in the hole, whatever you want, depression, low self-esteem, all that stuff is where you end up bottoming out if you're not good. But I'm going to say, if you find yourself in that space, every now and then, go back to this.
Right. No.
I love this.
Yeah.
To where it's kind of like I surrender to God, but I also surrender to the process.
Yeah. Well, for me, Nikki, and I should have mentioned this earlier, for me, open hands is two things. It is, God, help me to take the death grip I have off the things in my life that I'm trying to control.
Yeah.
And let me give that over to you. But God, these open hands are also receiving hands.
Yeah.
Because there are ways that you want to bless me.
And I love
there
it.
There are things that I couldn't even see coming.
Yeah.
That you want to work in.
And then I also thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you for all that you're doing and trusting these hands to do.
Right. Yeah.
And the gifts that you've given me to make it happen. That is, oh my God. We're just having a great time.
We are. Yeah. By the way, I think we should mention that we match.
Yeah. Yes, we do. Like, you should have told me. I would have we came out.
Oh, that's so funny.
Even the jeans. I have on jeans.
Right, totally. You got a lot of comments here. I don't know if we need to see if we got any questions. I don't know. This is your show. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah.
Somebody said go big or go home.
Yes, that's Miss Marilyn Parker. That is who actually opened the door to me having this opportunity.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you.
Thanks for listening. I'm always saying thank you. I need to do a sprint try this year. That's Nicholas Powell, who has been on the show, and he did the topic of mindset matters. Yeah. I am connecting with this conversation. Awesome. The two of you actually should connect. I need to connect the two of you because that's going to be like electrifying with you two in the room. Yeah, he was saying that the intrinsic goals are not always fulfilling.
Yep.
Whole bunch of wows and yeps. Thanks for
Mm.
sharing this. I too have experienced this recently, that emptiness is crazy.
Mm.
Lady Lane, for me, this is priceless. Pam, so true. I'm living it right now.
A couple of my Jake, thanks for watching.
Hey,
my
Jake.
sister is on here, or was on here as
Oh,
well.
did you see her?
Yeah, Beth Richards. Yeah, that was her right there.
Hi,
I don't know if she's still
Beth. How are
watching or
you?
not. But
okay.
Yep.
Love it, love it. You ask great questions.
Yeah,
hey, Maren.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see.
Do you guys have any questions? Like, shoot them. Well, this is your show. This ain't
no, go ahead. This is the conversation after the conversation, so we get to just kind of be like,
yep.
Unpack a few more things if you'd like. There is, and hey to all the Instagram back there as well.
Yeah.
We've got a little concoction going on, but it's working. Trying to think, what else have we not covered that we were talking a little bit, but we moved kind of fast because we have our 30 minutes just on live on, or 27 minutes on air. But now that we're off the air, if we can circle back to relationships and how important as leaders and those of us who are carrying heavy loads, how important has making relationship buildings, and some of us call it building our tribe, having our community, how important is that, or has that been for you, and what does that look like? I know you mentioned texting and calling and all that, but
yeah, no, I tell you, Nikki, it literally is the lifeblood of everything that we do. So the name of my book is called Relationships Are Everything. And so
how did I miss that?
Oh, I
didn't even see. This is why we needed to come back. Relationships are everything.
Yeah. So the phrase that I use to describe it is relationships aren't just something. Relationships are everything.
Okay.
And so the mentality that most men have is, like I'm off doing my career thing. It's fine. It's just a part of it. Like I don't need to invest. They're not actually helping me get ahead, so I'm fine. Now they may not say those words, but by their actions, that's what they portray, right? And so for me, it's like, no, buddy, you need to realize that when you're 40 or 50 or you name it, anytime in, towards middle life, and you look back, and if you've been living this way, you're gonna look back and go, well, there's nobody behind me. And my marriage is in shambles. My kids don't like me. And the list goes on.
And don't know me.
Yeah. And so that's why I say it's because relationships really are the whole reason why you do all this. Because you can leave a building, you can leave a great legacy on this earth in some physical respect, but truthfully, the biggest legacy you will leave are in people. And so for me, the relational piece became the very, very center of everything that I was doing. And it has been the lifeblood of everything I do moving forward. So, that plays it out in, the biggest and most important relationship outside of Jesus right now is the fact that, I'm getting married in June. So, yeah. So
he got this relationship thing down. Congratulations.
Shauna's my world. And I love her to pieces. And,
that's
and
awesome.
That journey would not have happened would it not have been for me deciding to become vulnerable, take some risks, and say, I'm going to do this no matter what, and stop looking for perfection in women and start looking for that brokenness. Yeah,
I'm sure, and in self, because as a leader, not to switch it off of the relationship, because I'm still talking about relationship, but as a leader, I love how you said earlier, here you are giving, pouring, sharing, exchanging, all these different things, but from a place of brokenness and emptiness. You have to press pause. There is no way to continue doing what you're doing and not press pause, because had you still been on that cycle, Shauna wouldn't be around.
Right. No. Oh, there's no way. We joke. I say, Shauna, you would have never been you wouldn't have wanted to be around Ben Weaver 6 or 7 years ago. Like you just wouldn't have. I mean, I was a fun guy. I was great. Everything looked awesome. But she's a brilliant mind. She's going to school to be a counselor herself. And so she gets people, like she understands them pretty quickly, which is one of the things I love about her. And she would have like picked up my crap just in 30 seconds.
Like,
so yeah, it wouldn't have worked. But now, because of me deciding to say, no, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be open and honest. That's part of it. So she's the most important. My friends, I didn't get a chance to share this on air, but part of me taking a step into relationships was I started to navigate friendships of guys who all had a similar interest, which was skiing and snowboarding.
Okay.
And so
that was intentional.
Oh, totally. And so we started this, people laugh at us, but we're like, we take it seriously. It's fine. We started this brand called Bro Skiing, that every year we take a ski trip and we document it, video and photos, and we take, do epic stuff together, but it's intentional in the life we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I have a dream to do those trips more than just us, to open those up eventually to other men, to want to experience, take them out of their chaos into the adventure and say, let's build some core relationships.
And that's that adventurous faith.
Exactly.
In action, just in a whole practical, simple way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we make it so mystical and so we make it hard, and it's not hard. It's just making a decision. Right.
No, it is. And what's interesting is guys long for adventure. They just don't know the avenues in which to take it. And so I want to be an avenue that can help, provide some of that.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. So it Shauna, friendships, business partnerships, and strategic, I in my head, regarding my business, I know the men and women that make up what I call like my little board of advisors.
Yeah.
These are the people, they may never ever sit around the same table, although eventually one day soon, I hope they will. But I know for this person, I need this person, I need that. And it's like, they are my go-to people.
Yeah.
And I could not do anything without them. And so for me, it literally is relationships. That's where I'm going to keep going back to.
Yeah, and we have to understand the dynamic. I know the last week, Pastor Jordan explained to us the need for the different, and he was coming out of Esther in regards to the different relationships that we have. I'm not going to go all into that. I'm sure he'll post it. However, being mindful of those individuals who we're interacting with, and also what it is that we need and how to prioritize them in our life makes a difference. Not so much in the using someone, but understanding why they're there, but also because understanding why not only allows them to give to us, but to give to them. When you're even talking about, I want to receive and I want to give.
Yeah.
And understanding that it is, as a leader, I know this is something I truly, and I equate it to a form of pride, not in an arrogant sense, but my father always told me there's two sides of pride. There is, I'm great, I can do this. But this other side of pride where I don't think I can really do it. I don't think because it's still about me.
Right.
It's still I. So it's still pride. And so with that, for me as a leader, and you're talking about relationships, there is a truth in you can lead so in such a way that you prevent people from giving to you. So you may be the one that's pouring in and giving out, but you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to be open to make sure that you allow people to give to you as a leader as well. Yes, not everybody can do that.
Right.
But there are ways that people can give to you as a leader. And I think that relationship that you bring up is so critical to also think of it from that perspective. Because there are some people who God's going to bring your way to give you the resources you need, to give you the encouragement that you need, to be an ear every now and then. But we have to be open to that and not be so much of a leader that we can't be poured into. And that's why, I'll try and say, even as leaders and as teachers, we always have to be students and receivers.
Right. No, absolutely. There's a book that came to my mind while you were just talking about that. It's a book I recently read, interviewed the author of the book for my podcast, hasn't gone live yet. But the book is called The Heart-Led Leader. And it's a book by a guy named Tommy Spalding.
Okay.
And it's just an easy, fantastic, vulnerable read. Lots of stories, just fantastic. And Tommy's a great guy.
What's the name of the book again?
The Heart-Led Leader.
Okay.
Yep. And it's really the journey. He talks about the journey from the head to the heart is 18 inches, and so it's 18 principles that help make you a heart-led leader. Yeah, so it's super practical.
I'm loving this.
Yeah.
And is it online? I can get it offline?
Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. I love new books.
Mm-hmm.
I love new books. I'm a huge audiobook reader now.
Oh yeah, the audiobook of that version is really good too. Yeah, I mean because he tells lots of stories.
I'll
so if you want to grab it, yeah,
I'll download it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, definitely on my list.
Mm-hmm.
On my list before we get out of this year, because I've got my little little wish list going.
There you go. There you go.
My goal is I'm at two a month right now.
Okay,
so
that's great.
I know.
That's awesome.
But it's amazing as leaders. Going back to yes, things are friendship, but I'm learning the importance of reading. Like yes, you have to make time, but you find what formula works for you. But because you get exposed to so many different perspectives, which to me has helped to develop a more confident voice. You don't always have to agree with everything, but where's my stance on this topic? As well as, wow, I didn't see it from that point of view. Right. Or like, wow, I didn't even look at envy being mirrored with comparison.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense, so it makes a difference to be in a space where you're constantly being fed into, whether that's through reading, conversations such as this.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Now there is this, we'll wrap up, but there is this Darian Phelps, who's usually here with me on the last he's been with me for the last Tuesday of every month this year. And he did this ending with me a month ago. And so what he did and how it goes, I'm going to give you one word.
Okay.
And you give me the first word that comes to mind. Okay. Just one word.
Okay.
Vulnerability.
Relationships. Shauna.
That's so pretty. Discipline.
Quiet time.
Mercy.
Love.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did I pass?
You passed. You passed and you walked through the door.
Oh, well, thank you. It's literally an honor to be here with you.
Awesome. And I'm sure we've got to look at all these comments. I'm hoping that everyone has been able to walk away with a nugget or two of information to help you think broader, bigger, better, and understanding that as leaders, we too have to have opportunities to get poured into, but being mindful that relationships are key. One last word.
Gosh.
And your email.
Yeah.
I mean, your not email, but your website.
Yeah. Good night. I'll just reiterate the fact of what I said on the air.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid to take one step. And if you feel afraid, invite someone to come along with you. In fact, actually, that's what I would probably do is say, hey, text, call friends. Just call a friend. Don't text them. Call them. Because then they'll know it's important.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I need to take this step towards whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Will you help me? Will you help me make that step? Will you help me? I'm inviting you into this process of growth for me. Will you help me?
Wow. That's
or
powerful.
just encourage me.
That's powerful because you're saying it different this time. See, look, we needed this last word. Mm. That's powerful because not only will one person win, two people win, but two communities also get the benefit of those wins.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there's a couple different places you can find me on Instagram. I'm at B_weave. So B is in Ben _weave, WEAVE, which is where I do a lot of my social stuff. You can also obviously find me here on Facebook, which is great too, a place to connect. If you want to find anything regarding kind of my personal platform, the podcast and things like that, go to benweaver.org. If you're interested at all in having a conversation about what I do for businesses and helping them to get clear on their message so they can make a bigger impact, if you go to biggerstory.co.
Okay.
Biggerstory.co, and you can find all my stuff there.
Okay. So benweaver.org or biggerstory.co.
Yep, .co. Yeah.
.co. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. It is absolutely, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
This has been a blessing. It's been rich.
Yeah.
I thank you for making time. I'm hoping it's not the last time.
No, I'd love to come back anytime you'll have me.
Okay.
I'm totally.
I'll definitely connect you. Nicholas Powell, I'll be reaching out to get you two connected. Definitely, I know there's some synergy there. Thank you again for listening and for always being so great with your remarks and your input. As we go off, I am Nikki Roach, your host, and thank you for joining us for the conversation after the conversation, this little back behind the scenes here. Yeah. You can find me on all social platforms at Nikki Roach, and also the website is nikkiroach.com. Thank you. Have a good day, and don't forget, live out success as you define it, and don't forget to put on that smile. You've already won. Take care. Okay.